Thank you for coming on to our podcast. This is a work of art and a work in progress. So appreciate learning, giving us the opportunity to share with our users and our listeners more about DitoBanx. So just out of the box, can you spend the beginning of this just telling us about you, your history, and then most importantly, the company, DitoBanx? And am I saying it phonetically correct, DitoBanx?
Yeah, that is right.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm Guillermo Contreras, founder and CEO of DitoBanx. I have been on the technology industry for the last 20 years, working on the Fintech industry specifically for the last 11. And yeah, we started a very exciting project called DitoBanx 3 years ago. Right now, DitoBanx operates in 7 countries, US, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, and we are starting Colombia right now. In each of these countries, for example, in the US, we hold a money service business license that allowed us to do remittances for the entire Latin America. And in all the other countries, we have physical offices, we have commercial teams, compliant teams, regulatory teams, and everything required to operate locally, complying with all the local regulations of that country. Right now, I'm in Mexico City visiting the operation over here, and well, that's what we have been doing for the last 3 years. And a couple of things that we do as of today. We have 3 verticals of services. One of them is the retail services, where we serve individuals and businesses. We also have a second vertical, which is called tokenization services. We use one of the licenses that we have in El Salvador in order to do tokenization for real assets or any other product. And we have a third vertical of white label services for regulated financial institutions. So I'm very happy to talk about all these products and all the journey until now, and very, very welcome to be here with you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. 3 years is not that long, and I've heard a lot about you all. And you mentioned more than 4 countries. One, I'm interested to know, how difficult is it keeping up with the different regulatory environments, taxes and financials of every different bureaucratic nightmare, probably? And then how are you seeing growth from start to now?
Well, it is very, very funny what you asked me right now, because I could literally write a book on each of those countries.
Yes.
Each of them has been a complete different story, a lot of headaches, a lot of nightmares, a lot of things that have been happening in each of those countries. As you know, each of them has its particularities, and we have a very, very nice compliance team on each of those countries. For each of them, for each country we operate, we need to have local legal studios, we have local accountants, local compliance officer, local operations personnel. So it is the result of the great work of each one of them to be able to operate in each of these countries. And so far, what we have been doing mostly on the last 3 years is building the entire infrastructure, building products, building relationships, building alliances, and everything else. Right now, we started operating El Salvador, and growth over there is going very, very well. And we are in a point of time that we are starting growth in 2 more countries. We are operating in all of them, but growth, specifically working on growth, it is happening in Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador. And the next 2, we're going to be working on growth in Costa Rica, Panama, and Colombia.
Very cool. Exciting. So you say most of your growth is Mexico, Guatemala, and there was
El
3,
Salvador.
correct? El Salvador.
Right.
Who are these users? Where is, like, if you could give a persona for your user, who is it, and what do they use DitoBanx for?
As I mentioned, we have 3 different verticals, and each one of them has a different buyer persona. For example, on the retail services vertical, we serve users, individual users, and businesses. For individual users, our target is young people from 18 to 32 years old. Most of them very technological people, college students, Bitcoin users, traders, gamers, and all that type of users. We also serve a lot of unbanked population, mostly in Salvadorian and Mexican market. that comes from the gig economy or people from freelancers economy and all that. So for the retail services on the individual side, that's our target person. On the business side, we go mostly to micro and small businesses that lack access to financial services. That's the population that makes most of our users in El Salvador and Mexico as well, and starting in Guatemala.
Yeah.
For the tokenization services, it is totally different because we serve big companies or big institutions trying to find funds for big projects. The smallest project that we have is $1 million, and the biggest one right now is $350 million. We just
Wow.
tokenized the interoceanic corridor of Guatemala. It's a huge project, wonderful project, by the way. And we have tokenized debt for banks, investment funds for international companies. We have tokenized growth for full franchises, and many more. That's the type of customer that we have on the tokenization vertical. And on the white label services vertical, we only serve other regulated institutions. That
Yeah.
is banks or financial entities and that type of businesses. So as you can see, we have a very diverse type of customers on DitoBanx.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like you got a wide, what I say, you paint with a wide brush.
Yeah, this is the result. When we started building DitoBanks, we have something in mind very, very clear. We wanted to be the next neobank for Latin America. And this
Yeah.
is very important to mention. Our vision goes serving customers from Mexico to Patagonia in Argentina and using US just as an origination location for remittances. But we intend to serve entire Latin America without Brazil, and that is one of the things that is moving our roadmap right now. And on this path, we have found many different things, many interesting things that are very, very interesting to tell to everyone else. One of them is
Yeah.
that that in Latin America we have 48 million persons, but out of those 648 million persons, we have 464 that are still unbanked, that never had a bank account, still keep
Crazy.
their money under their mattress, never had a loan, never been able to have a loan for buying a car, to do a trip, to go to school, or to go outside of their country. So we have been building tools for them, and that's the initial vision of DitoBanks.
Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting. And as you can probably tell, I'm was born in the U.S. and based. I have a house here in Southern California. Our company does operate out of Mexico, but I'll go to events in the U.S., so crypto events, or even some of the major crypto events, and people will say, "Hey, I haven't heard of you. Why haven't I seen you anywhere?" And I say, well, because I'm where the people are who need what we do. We're in Latin America. You just gave some huge numbers, some big progress. And I want you to know I'm going to go to Flight in New York tomorrow. I'm at a Digital Asset Summit.
Good, perfect.
I would say 80% of the companies there have probably 15% of the activity that you have going on. And it's interesting because we have all this attention on cryptography and crypto solutions in Europe and the West, but the users are in Latin America, and I would say Africa too. If you look at
but there is a reason for that. In the US and Europe, the unbanked population is only 5%.
right,
You have access to financial tools. And in
right,
Latin America, the average is 65% on each country. So that's what makes the difference. And that's why we have focus on Latin America, because it is the real part of the world that really needs all this technology. They also have big volatility on their currency. And
yes.
cryptocurrencies solves that problem, Bitcoin solves that problem, and stablecoins solve that problem as well.
I completely agree with you. I think that you're in the right spot, working with the right people and serving the right user. I find it ironic, I guess I should say, that people are pretending to build these solutions for people, but they don't leave the US. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I think is interesting. I think the people on the ground, like DitoBanx, who know the customer, who know the user, who know the problem space, In the future, they'll win, and you'll be the big stewards of the future of providing access to users. Mostly because, like you said, in the West or in New York, people have access. But
Yeah.
it's funny that the biggest event right now is in New York, and none of them are in Latin America. I just think it's such an ironic thing, and so happy to hear that you're in Latin America. And we made the same choice. We said to ourselves, I'm from California. I said, okay, where are the people who would use this service? Well, I think primarily in Latin America, so let's go there. And that was, to other people, an insane choice, but I think in the future we'll see it as the most reasonable choice: is go to where the users are.
Yeah, and there is also one more thing that is common to most of the population in Latin America. They don't care about the technology that you're using. I like
Yeah,
to talk a lot with my customers, and I always ask them how can I help them, or how they expect DitoBanks to help them. They never mention technology. They only mention three things: help me to sell more, help
yeah,
me that things cost me less, or provide me with capital so that I can grow my businesses.
yeah,
As long as you provide one of those three things, they don't even see or care what you're doing on the back,
yeah, yeah,
as long as you can help them. And that's also one of the strategies that we use on the markets. We don't go out and sell cryptocurrencies, we don't sell digital rails. What we do
yeah,
is that we sell benefits. We sell them a value proposal that is real for them. Like, for example, remittances. We don't
yeah,
sell that we use stable coins for doing remittances and that we deliver them in a card. What we sell is that you're not going to have to walk 3 hours to get
yeah,
your money anymore, that you can get it
yeah.
instantly in your hands and you can start spending it in the next 5 minutes. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. And I can guarantee you, Tats, who's listening right now, is going to take exactly what you just said and make a soundbite out of it, and we'll promote it. We don't tell them about crypto. We tell them that we'll save you time and money. It's an ingenious way and an ingenious approach. Um, if you could give me some idea, and feel free not to tell me, about users and maybe daily users or total users, give me some numbers on DitoBanx. What kind of traction are you seeing in respect to users and their volumes?
No problem. Well, last year we closed it. We processed $65 million on a
Wow.
single country and more than 500,000 transactions
Wow.
across all our products. We tokenized $32 million, and we have on the pipeline $444 more million in order to be tokenized. That
That's
is
awesome.
only with a single country, which is El
Yeah.
Salvador, that has a 6.8 million population. And now imagine what we can do now that we are in Mexico with 128 million users,
Yeah.
Guatemala with 18 million users, Colombia 50 million users. So we expect a very, very, very big growth on 2025 and 2026.
Great. I'm super happy for you. That's fantastic. Has anything changed for DitoBanks? The U.S. You're not involved in the U.S. I mean, you are, as far as you can send money from the U.S., but you're not regulated in there, I don't think, or you don't spend much time in the U.S. I don't know the exact way to phrase it, but I do think the latest news with the U.S. and their latest outlook on blockchain technologies has probably had some effect on you. Is that true, and how?
Yes, definitely it has impacted us. We have a corporation in the US that has money service business license there. And we have struggled a lot to keep our bank accounts open. And remember that we originate remittances from the US
Yeah.
and originate them and converting them to stablecoin in order to move them to the rest of Latin America involves a lot of work, regulation, and relationships in the US. We have been very fortunate with the latest news and latest moves that U.S. government had in the last couple of weeks, and definitely that is helping us a lot. Mostly on the banking side, because we are having a lot more opening from banking partners to process our transactions, to understand our business, and to give us more rails in order to move money to Latin America.
Yeah. Do you see, so if you have like Colombia as an example, send money to Mexico, is your flow for doing that is convert the Colombian peso to like Tether, USDT, and then go to Mexico and then convert it to the peso?
Yeah, that is right. And that is one very important thing to mention. We are buying stablecoin on one side and we are selling stablecoin on the other side to provide the local currency. We are not moving legal currency across the
Yes.
countries,
Yes.
which is a total different thing, because if you do that, you are doing money transmission, because
Yeah.
money transmission is based on the fact that you are moving legal currency between those two countries. But we are not doing that. We are
Yeah.
buying stablecoin on one side, changing the property of that stablecoin to the other corporation in the other country, and then we sell it and we give the user the local currency. So I think it is part of the new way of doing things on the
Yeah.
financial industry.
So, forgive me for interjecting as far as our product into your ecosystem, but I'm just curious. So, one of our goals is to create for this year is to create a yield bearing stablecoin for every sovereign country in Latin America. And our hypothesis is, stablecoins are going to be used for remittances. But when you buy and sell into a US product, so from Colombia to Mexico, you are getting US FX twice or something like that.
Yeah.
So we have, as you're aware, a Mexican interest-bearing stablecoin, and we should have a Colombian one here pretty soon. Do you foresee that as a benefit that you could pass on to your users through a reduction in fees? Is that something you think about or worry about?
Yes, definitely. We have big advantages for this. We manage US dollars in 3 locations. We have US dollars in El Salvador, we have US dollars in Panama, and of course in the US. Definitely, this is a benefit for all our users, because what we are seeing right now is a nearshoring business growing in Latin America. So moving the money fast is very, very important for all of them. Mostly from China, most between Brazil and Mexico, between Mexico and the rest of the Latin American countries. Moving the money in seconds is very important to be competitive and to create a difference against your competitors. So yes, definitely using stable coins, it is a big difference and a big advantage for all Latin American users.
What do you foresee as your biggest challenges in the next 5 years?
Still is regulation. Whenever someone asks me what I do or what my business is about, I always tell them that 60% of my business is regulation.
Yeah.
20% is risk management, and the rest, 20%, is technology. The biggest hustle that we have and that we are going to keep having for the next 5 years is regulation, and risk management. That's it. Anti-money laundering.
Yeah.
Everything, cybersecurity, risks in the end.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the regulation never goes fast, right? It's always slow. So it takes some time. Yeah. I know more about Mexican law and fintech law than I ever thought I would before I started this company.
Yeah, it's very
You have to.
complicated. Mexico is one of the countries that took us almost a year to operate over here. And we have 4 licenses over here, and it hasn't been easy. I mean, you know what Mexico is about, but still, it's a market of 128 million people. Very, very important and worth it to operate in Mexico.
So one of the things I've thought a lot about is the opportunity for countries to make things easier. So remind me if I'm wrong. You're originally from Mexico, correct?
Right.
But you're in El Salvador, and I'm assuming that you went to El Salvador because they have probably clearer guidelines on how to run a company like yours. Is that correct?
Yes, but having clear guidelines like in El Salvador doesn't make things easier. On the contrary, it makes things harder, because you have specific laws, specific regulations that you need to comply. You need to form corporate structure and 100 things that are already on paper. So probably one of the countries that has been harder for us was El Salvador, our original country. Most of the other countries, as they don't have a specific regulation for digital assets, it has been easier.
Yeah.
You just need to obligate yourself to be AML compliant and comply with any other data protection regulation and all that. And it is very easy to start operations.
I just felt like looking at this, if Mexico would move a little quicker and provide more regulatory guidance. For us, it took us 2 years. We do essentially yield-bearing assets, so there's some complexity there compared to stablecoin. And in the end, we got a written letter from the CNBV on how we could move forward. That took forever, but it was a great opportunity for us. In the end, we had to notarize it so people believe it too. So there's all these issues. I just think you're launching and growing in Mexico. I think Mexico is the place to win. There's so many people there. There's so much opportunity, so many remittances there. And it hurts me to think that Mexico might be losing the opportunity to keep the value in Mexico, because you can go somewhere else and set up a company and then work in Mexico as a foreign entity or something like that. So I really wish we could get the point across to this new administration, someone know Claudia, and just say, hey, you could lead the world. I think Mexico could lead the world in tokenized growth or blockchain growth if people knew what to do. I don't know if you feel the same, or if do you see an opportunity, like a world leading opportunity in Mexico like I do?
No, definitely. And there are very good intentions of modifying the regulation in Mexico. We are seeing a lot of movement on the industry, and we have been involved in a couple of them. And I can tell you that Mexico wants to move in the right direction.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it is going to be quicker than we expect, but we are going to be seeing interesting things in 2025 in Mexico.
Cool.
That's for sure.
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited. We're here for it. Next time I'm in Mexico City too, I will make sure to connect with you if you're there, but I think we're always in different places.
I'm most of the time here. Right now I'm in Mexico, and I'm always moving, but most of the time is in Mexico.
Well, I think to close, you're aware of what we do. Potentially we'll be doing some work here together in the near future. Yep. How might stable bonds are interest-bearing bonds, short-term treasuries, so an interest-bearing stablecoin in different denominations, so different currencies across the world. How do you think that, one, we could work together, and two, what opportunities do you foresee for stable bonds in Latin America, particularly as it relates to DitoBanx too?
Yeah, well, one very important thing that made all the financial technology industry skyrocket in the last couple of years is offering yield to the users.
Yeah.
Because one thing that financial technology companies cannot do is request money from the public and use it to provide loans and generate yield on that money. That is called financial intermediation. We are not allowed to do that. And this type of bonds that Ederfuse creates give us that tool to provide yield to those users. And that's very important. For example, in Mexico, that other financial technology companies like Nubank, Mercado Pago, Mercado Libre, Clara, and some others are offering 10% of yield yearly, or 12%, 15%. That would be impossible if we didn't have products like the one that Ederfuse is creating. So correct. It is definitely one of the strategic partnerships that we are looking for to make it work in the next couple of weeks, because we have been very busy implementing it and making it work. We have everything almost ready, and hopefully very, very soon we're going to have that product on DitoBanx. And definitely it is going to make a difference for the value perception that our users are going to have on the product. So it is definitely something that the unbanked population needs, which is quick access to products that pays real yield, and not like the banks that pay you 0.25%, 0.10% for your deposits. Yeah. No, people really needs access to this type of tools.
I agree. And here's what I hope for you, your users, and DitoBanx. I hope in the future, every user from whatever country they're from can hold their currencies in an account in DitoBanx, and it's comparable or better than a bank account. So they're earning yield.
That's what we want to do as well.
And, keep me apprised to Colombia, because we do have relationships there, and we could issue a Colombian yield-bearing peso. But that's the goal for us is, right now, I think we've seen stablecoins are really good at sending money across. Well, I think there's a huge opportunity for DitoBanx if people decide, hey, I actually want to hold it in my wallet, because I trust it and because it gets me yield. So that's our goal, and hopefully we can do that together. Appreciate your time. We keep these short. I just want to let everyone know who DitoBanx is, and Guillermo, who you are. I'm super fascinated with what you're doing, and proud to know you and proud to be working with you.
Thank you, Dave. See you soon.
All right, we'll see you soon.